Well, what's tough for me is their next game is their biggest game of the season coming out of the bye week against Washington. I mean, you guys touched on this right before the break. They are the 8th seed in the East in the conference standings right now. Minnesota's out. I'm sorry. You lose to Detroit, you're out. Atlanta stinks. The Saints are done. Carolina just fired their offensive coordinator. There are 3 teams battling for 2 playoff spots in the NFC right now, and 1 beat the Eagles in San Francisco. You have an opportunity right now to control your own destiny. I mean, against Washington, you get to play them twice. And starting at week 14, there is going to be an immense amount of pressure on Jalen Hurts when he comes back, unfortunately. It shouldn't be like that, but it is because that's the reality of the situation. It's the biggest game of the season for the Eagles. If they lose that game, I don't want to say that they're done, but if they win that game, they're in the driver's seat. And this is where that loss to the Giants absolutely kills them. That should not happen. By the way, the Giants were terrible yesterday.
It is the Mac and Mac guys on a Birds 365 on a Minshew Monday here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Here to bask in the glory of the Eagles' mustachioed quarterback is Jeff Kerr from CBSSports.com, fill-in host for us here, and you read him all the time on CBSSports.com. Mr. Kerr, I know I was in the house. I know John McMullen was in the house. You were in the house yesterday, too, at MetLife Stadium?
3 for 3.
Yeah, 3 for 3. The whole crew was in the house yesterday, getting to see Gardner Minshew wearing his Maverick jacket.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to show up with a fake mustache to fit in, Jeff. But
you wouldn't have seen it anyway with all the face coverings I had on.
Yeah, we are where we are. So we have to start with the quarterback controversy, which, again, Nick Sirianni tried to downplay after the game. And from the Eagles' perspective, there is no controversy. Jalen Hurts will be back as the starting quarterback. I hate to break that to everyone, but that's what it is. But from your perspective, Jeff, this passing offense ran a heck of a lot better with Gardner Minshew. Is that just the Jets, or is it Gardner related, Nick Sirianni? What was better? Why was it better?
Well, the Jets do have a bottom 5 pass defense. I just got to get that out of the way right now. I thought Jalen Hurts would have been able to not exactly be as efficient as Gardner Minshew was yesterday, but I think he would have been able to throw the ball against this team. Now, with that being said, I got to go back to what Dallas Goedert said yesterday. He'll support whoever quarterback is going to be the quarterback.
Yeah, he did say that. He was the one guy.
Yeah. So, that's not my decision. I'm like, no, Dallas, no. I could see, a couple guys on the Eagles there. They're like, oh boy, here we go.
Yep.
So, I mean, look, Gardner Minshew completed 80% of his passes yesterday, and Jalen Hurts has never done that in a game. The only time Jalen Hurts has come close to that was week 1 when they were running the bubble screens and all that. Gardner Minshew had a nice ball on him yesterday, and I remember watching during pregame warmups. He was really focusing in on Dallas Goedert, and they were doing some extra time there, doing some extra reps. And I believe you called it, John. Dallas Goedert was going to have a big day.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I kind of knew that was going to be the game plan of the Eagles coming into the game. So, but also that's what Gardner does well. He throws well in the intermediate zones, and he's never had a target like Dallas Goedert. So I thought it would work well against this particular team. It worked really well, especially in the first half. Then they went more run heavy. But I will say, you said 80%, Jeff, and that's correct. But he only had 22 targets because he threw 3 away. He's 21 out of 22 when he was targeting receivers. Again, and Jody will be the first to tell you, yeah, that Jets defensive backfield is terrible. 21 out of 22. You go Dallas Goedert, Kenny Gainwell, Quez Watkins, Miles Sanders, Jalen Reagor, those 5 players, 18 out of 18. And Gainwell, Watkins, Sanders, Reagor, they haven't even been involved in the stinking passing game over the past month and a half. That's something.
Yeah, Wes Watkins looked like an NFL receiver yesterday. He should have had a touchdown on the one. Minshew was pressured, and he kind of just had to get rid of the ball. Watkins had to come back. I thought he was wide open on that one third down play. He got the first down, but I'm like, wow, if Minshew might have gotten a little bit more air on that ball. I thought Watkins would have scored a touch, but still, it was a good throw under pressure by Gardner Minshew. And, Jalen Reagor's Jalen Reagor. He's useless. That's all I got to say about that. But, the screen game was working yesterday. I was really impressed just by how they ran that offense. And I don't know. I think Nick Sirianni was giving us a bunch of, BS when, it's the same. No, it's not the same offense. It
not
wasn't
even close. Not even close.
It was a completely different offense yesterday. And
By the way, guys, that's great. That's a feather in Nick Sirianni's cap, I think. I don't know why he's downplaying that. That's a strength of his to be able to more using his out, which I think is the definition of coaching. I think he should embrace that.
Right.
I don't know why he doesn't.
I think you can read into that, John, for those who want to question Nick Sirianni and say he's saying certain things because he has to say certain things, but he doesn't have to do certain things within the next 2 weeks when they start. Oh, no, he wants you to believe that it's the same exact offense because he is going back to Jalen Hurts. He wasn't lying when he stepped up there yesterday and said, oh, no, Jalen Hurts is our quarterback. That's the plan. Whatever McMullen, McDonald, Cataldi, Kerr, anybody else says, anybody here on our stream, anybody on the phones on WIP, Gardner, he's not changing his mind. If Jalen Hurts is physically capable of going, he is going to be the Eagles quarterback. And the easiest way to do that is, we never changed anything. We're just going right back to what we do. Now, where he just can't defend it is, how many RPOs did they run yesterday? Not a whole lot. And when they did, Gardner didn't really look comfortable doing it, at least for me. So to say he didn't change the offense is a bold-faced lie. But if he wants to stand by that statement, that just, to me, lends itself to there's no mincing of words here. Jalen Hurts is going to be back as the quarterback of this team as soon as he's physically capable of being.
Well, what's tough for me is their next game is their biggest game of the season coming out of the bye week against Washington. You guys touched on this right before the break. They are the 8th seed in the East in the conference standings right now. Minnesota's out. I'm sorry. You lose to Detroit, you're out. Atlanta stinks. The Saints are done. Carolina just fired their offensive coordinator. There are 3 teams battling for 2 playoff spots in the NFC right now, and one beat the Eagles in San Francisco. You have an opportunity right now to control your own destiny. Against Washington, you get to play them twice. And starting at week 14, there is going to be an immense amount of pressure on Jalen Hurts when he comes back, unfortunately. It shouldn't be like that, but it is because that's the reality of the situation. It's the biggest game of the season for the Eagles. If they lose that game, I don't want to say that they're done, but if they win that game, they're in the driver's seat. And this is where that loss to the Giants absolutely kills them. That should not happen. By the way, the Giants were terrible yesterday.
Yeah, they were. And that obviously Daniel Jones with it, but who cares? Daniel Jones, that was a bad loss. Man, you're right with the Washington football team. If one of those 2 teams, Washington, the Eagles, can sweep that season series, they're going to the playoffs. So if the Eagles sweep the Washington, they're going to the playoffs. And one of the things where the Eagles haven't, Jody, you and I were talking about how bad the Jets kicker was all week. They cut him leading up to the game.
When I heard that, I was like, yeah. I told Johnny Mac Amendola stinks.
Yeah. And they bring up this kid, Kessman. The Eagles won that game by 15 points. Coincidentally, that's exactly how many points Jake Elliott had. 4 for 4 on field goals, 3 for 3 on extra points. He's making extra points. Kessman's missing extra points. Remember, that game started touchdown.
Yep.
The Eagles defense was stinking out the joint. Zach Wilson looked like the number 2 pick in the draft. He's throwing the football all over. Braxton Berrios is the best kick returner in football. And by the way, he is pretty good, Jody.
He is.
But Jake Elliott's consistency this year, that might be the most underreported story on the Eagles. He's been the 2nd best kicker in football. I will never, as long as I live, say anybody's better than Justin Tucker. It's the best kicker who ever lived. Jake Elliott is number 2 in the NFL this year.
Jake Elliott should be a Pro Bowler for the NFC. He's not even close to in the voting for the NFC, but he should be the Pro Bowl kicker in the NFC this year. That's how good he's been. I mean, yesterday, John, you're absolutely right. This is the reason why the Eagles were able to extend their lead. Every time they got within Jets territory, you're like, oh, Jake Elliott, he just booms a 46-yard kick. I mean, I didn't even look up. I knew he made it. It was just one of those. As soon as the ball left his foot, I'm like, well, that's good. And Jake Elliott's just been tremendous the entire season. And what has he made now? 12 straight? Is it 12 straight field goals? I think this.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable. He was perfect in the month of November. That continues into December. It's a pretty nice luxury to have, especially when you see some of these other teams, and it's on display against the Jets, who have struggled with their kicker so mightily. When you have a guy you can count on, especially as you get into December in those weather games. It wasn't a bad day, but it's always, it's tougher to kick at MetLife Stadium in December than it is, in September or in the Dome or in the vast majority of places. It's a tough place to kick. He was lights out.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, let me add this, but just because it deserves to be added. We weren't doing Birds 365 last year, but certainly I was on WIP. A lot of calls about, and how the hell did Howie Roseman give Elliott a contract extension? Yeah. What was he thinking by giving him a cut? Now we're screwed because if we cut him, we got to take a dead cap hit. Plus, we got to find a new kicker. Oh, I fielded plenty of those calls. Just butchering both Elliott and Howie Roseman. We give Elliott credit. You got to give Howie a little thumbs up, too, because it's another one of the, it's the thing that Howie Roseman does better than anything else. Picking out people to go forward with, give them a contract extension, put yourself in a better cap slot if they live up to expectations. Well, Elliott has. He may not have last year. And the panicked Eagle fans were ready to jettison him. Good thing that they stuck with him and a good deal done by Howie Roseman.
Yeah, and speaking of the panicked Eagle fans, it's the Jets. Well, last week it was the Giants, and they should have beat them last week. I got to give Howie credit. One thing here, Carson Wentz is 5 snaps away from getting that first-round pick, everybody. So we can all put the confetti out because they're going to get a –
See, now, Kerr, you're as bad as everybody else, 5 snaps away. How the hell do you know?
Yeah,
no one knows what the number is.
Analytics, Jody. It's
analytics. We know he's going to – unless he dies this week, he's going to get the first-round pick. You don't need to put a number on it, JK.
Yeah.
You got to remember something. This is still the same quarterback that got injured on the first or second practice of camp with his foot. So anything can happen. That's why I got to point it out. He's 5 snaps away.
Yeah, but by the way, everybody keeps winning. So those picks, I just pulled up Tankathon. Those picks are number 12 now, number 13, and number 17. So 12.
Jeff Kerr expectations.
Oh, they're starting to bunch together. Well, weren't they 9 and 10 last week? What are they now, J-Mac?
12, which is the Miami pick. They won again. 13, which is the Eagles pick, who obviously won. 17 is Indianapolis, who won again. So 3 teams keep winning. So, yeah, the Eagles are going to get the 3 first-round picks, but they keep going down because everybody keeps winning. So but you want to win football games. You don't want to turn into the Sixers. And I applaud the Eagles, and things will work out. They won't, I've said from the start, they won't use all 3 of those picks. They might trade up. They might trade out and get a future first-round pick. I don't think they're taking 3 players in the first round. But, hey, we got to worry about playoffs before we can talk about the draft, which is kind of amazing. So let's talk about the one disappointment, at least early. The Eagles defense. We haven't been talking about them a lot for the past 2 weeks. One, they were pretty good against the stinking Giants, and they adjusted. But that start was pretty poor. Now, they got put up against it because of the long kickoff return. I don't blame them for that. That's a really short field. But, the Jets were moving the football pretty consistently early on. I've been saying it. People know I like Jonathan Gannon. Jody chides me. My love of Mike Zimmer as a defensive coach, not a head coach. Those guys know defensive football. But I'll be the first to say, way too much zone. You're making it too easy.
Yeah, exactly. Against Zach Wilson didn't have a single touchdown pass in the first half coming into yesterday. He had 2. Like he had a clean pocket. They were playing so far back in zone. I just don't understand why the cornerbacks were where they were. Like Elijah Moore could get separation at basically any time. I'm like, does Jonathan Gannon know like this guy is a legit wide receiver in the NFL? Like Braxton Berrios is solid. Jameson Crowder always beats the Eagles. I mean, the Jets could run the ball yesterday. Zach Wilson was just having his way. And then when he finally decided to blitz a little more or send a 5th rusher, which the Jets struggle with when it's more than 4, that's kind of when I thought the game changed a little bit. When Josh Sweat had that sack, I think it was on the 3rd and 4 in the second quarter, that's when the Jets offense kind of stymied a bit. But also you got to give the Eagles rushing offense a lot of credit too for helping out that defense, because the Jets only had the ball for a minute 12 in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, that first drive, Jody and I were talking about it. I think it was 8 minutes and 22 seconds. I looked up and I went, wow, I better start writing because the game's going to be end quickly. Yeah, it was pretty impressive in the way they were able to churn the clock. And by the way, we'll turn it back to the offense. Look, they got the lead and they ran the football in the second half and they ran it effectively. And they finally got a 100-yard rusher, Miles Sanders, career high in carries for Miles Sanders. So give him, Miles, he tweaked his ankle again at the end, but he'll have a week to rest. So give him credit. You look up, they ran the football. They were at 185. So now you have the passing efficacy with, okay, you didn't get 200, but you had 185. That's still, you lead the league at 160. That's still over what you typically do as an average, still best in the NFL level territory. Why aren't we talking about Gardner Minshew as the quarterback of this team? If you can have both of the best parts of the scheme, maybe we should be talking about it.
This is what I mentioned in my column yesterday, and I specifically mentioned the running game. They rushed for 175 yards in 6 straight games. They're the first team to do that since the 85 Bears. First time the Eagles done that since Steve Van Buren was their running back in 1949. They still averaged 5 yards a carry. Miles Sanders had his best day on the ground, a career high 24 carries. And yeah, you're right. The offense didn't miss a beat. And I kept thinking, okay, this rushing offense is good as it is because of the zone read and because of Jalen Hurts and his ability on the ground. And Hurts played a big role in that. But then when you got Miles Sanders running the ball like he did,
Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah, Kenny Gainwell did really well. And again, he was efficient out of the backfield as both a receiver and a running. Kenny Gainwell's a better runner in between the 20s than Miles Sanders, by the way. Can I point that out? And Boston Scott basically did not play yesterday. He had 3 snaps? He just did not play. So you take away what the early success of that running game with Boston Scott and Jordan Howard, and you go Miles Sanders and Kenny Gainwell. This just tells me that the Eagles' offensive line is really good. I don't care who the quarterback is.
Well, that's true.
And this will not ingratiate me to Eagles fans at all. And let me preface it by saying the better team on the field yesterday was unquestionably the Philadelphia Eagles. They were going to win that football game any way you slice it. Jalen Hurts at quarterback, the Eagle defense not starting off well. I factor everything in. The referees didn't hurt yesterday for the Eagles because every time there was a debatable call, the call went the Eagles' way. And usually, I know it's more of an NBA thing than an NFL thing, but it's slightly an NFL thing too. The hometown team on the debatable call that doesn't go to replay. Go to replay. And then the visual evidence is going to tell you what the call should be. But there were a couple of plays that didn't even get the replay. The one pass interference on Dallas Goedert, the D-back couldn't have played him.
That was a bad call. I said that right away. I was sitting next to Ed Kratz in the press box, and I said, that's a bad call. That's a terrible call. And he was like, nah, I got him. And then Damo chimed in, Paul Domowitz. He said, terrible call. So I felt better. It was a terrible call. I agree. The Jets got you out. That's baked into every NFL game, though, Jody. I talk about it. You're going to get plays. And that's what I like about Jonathan Gannon. He's like, all right, well, sometimes you're going to get screwed. Tell me the down and distance. You got to overcome it. That's just the modern NFL. We talk about it all the time. I was also surprised on the 4th and 1 sneak with the power of Gardner Minshew, which he was joking about.
The sexy legs he had.
Yeah, that's why he wears short shorts, the power to show off those legs. I was surprised they never overturn stuff like that. I was surprised by that. But again, I didn't have a great view in the press box.
From the naked eye, I thought that he didn't get it. And then, I'm looking up at the CBS camera. I'm like, oh, he might have gotten that. I challenge that, Nick.
They never overturn that, though, Jeff. Very rarely.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point I'm trying to make. Certain calls that don't get, forget about, it's baked into the game. No, there were some calls that should have never been baked into the game. And they all went.
Bad pass interference calls are weekly occurrence in every NFL stadium. So, I mean, that I always say it's so hard to play defense in this stinking league down the field. And that's why I criticize coaches who give up on, say, 3rd and 20. Just throw it up, especially if a savvy receiver. Throw an underthrown ball on the sideline and say,
you got to give Gardner Minshew credit. He threw a ball 4 yards short of somebody's feet, and Dallas Goedert's feet, and he got a pass interference call. There's no way Dallas Goedert was going to catch that ball.
Yeah. I mean, I think savvy players, again, I talk too much about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron is brilliant at that and just taking advantage of the officials. Gardner Minshew also drew the Jets offside at one point. So you had that cadence type of savviness from the quarterback as well. The more we talk here, guys, the more I start thinking, hey, maybe Gardner Minshew.
I have to ask you, were you laughing in the press box when the whole CJ Mosley comments were blaring when we're trying to write?
No, I was on the air, and I couldn't get to somewhere where there wasn't comments blaring all over the place. But I did hear about him afterward. Yeah, I mean, CJ's a really good player, obviously, for a long time. And he used to be in a great organization. So I get the frustration there. I mean, why wouldn't you have frustration?
It's a shame, too, because he's a really good player. And that defense just isn't good. It's Robert Saleh's got a lot of work to do on that side of the ball.
Yeah, but by the way, and I can speak to this because I've only been a Jet fan for 50 years. CJ Mosley did crap yesterday.
Everybody.
Very good player. Has been a very good player. Has played well on an island by himself this year on the Jets defense, which is pretty damn bad. And he is one of the very few players that can actually make plays for him. Did I miss any plays that he made yesterday? Or was he a contributing member to the god-awful Jets defense yesterday? And yesterday was not the day to take the stance that
probably. I mean, he had an Alex Singleton day, about 50 tackles, but none of them all that meaningful.
The only play the Jets defense made yesterday was when Nate Herbig snapped the ball over Gardner Minshew's head, and Minshew had to run 20 yards backwards.
Yeah, by the way, that might be the most underreported. The Eagles better hope Jason Kelce is ready after the bye, because
I was kind of praying Jason Kelce would find a way to come into that locker room and talk, but I missed the beginning of Lane Johnson's. I know they were talking about Stoutland, but I was like, did anybody ask him about Kelce? And then
he said he didn't know. We did ask him about Kelce. He said he didn't know how he was. So that's going to be Nick Sirianni talks today. We'll get a better indication on Jason Kelce. But man, I mean, that happened. I forget the game it happened. Herbig had to come in for one snap and sailed it over Jalen Hurts' head.
So he's 2 for 2 this year.
Yeah.
All right, let's have some fun here. This should be fun. Eagle fans won't want to hear it, but I'll give it to you anyway. This is for Johnny Mac, but Jeff Kerr, please chime in. Word comes down, torn MCL, ACL, whatever else, Jason Kelce, guaranteed to be gone for minimum the month, maybe even 6 weeks. Eagles would have to get to the championship game, maybe he can get back. Or he's done for the entire year, but you get my drift. Jason Kelce out. You just put Nate Herbig in at center?
No.
Well,
I think I put Landon Dickerson there, honestly.
That's the question I'm asking. Dickerson's been great at left guard. He gets better every single week, but he is the natural center. I tried to run what the hell's Nate Herbig's problem by John last week, and he said, come on, he's not a center. What do you want from the kid? He can't play center. Well, if you have to count on him to play center for these last 4 weeks of the season and or any playoff game you may be able to get into, what do you do, J-Mac?
You have to have the conversation. Ultimately, I think they lean towards keeping Dickerson where he is because he's playing so well as a rookie. You have Jeff Stoutland, and thank God he came back to the game, by the way. We haven't mentioned him. He had to leave, go to the hospital. Was able to come back in the second quarter. He doesn't like moving parts. Now, Nate Herbig is, the guy that they've been cross-training the whole time, the so-called interior backup who is now the starter because they're on their fourth right guard and on and on and on. But I think it has more to do with Sua Opeta. And Jason Kelsey mentioned, because remember, somebody's got to play right guard. If you move Nate Herbig, somebody's got to play left guard if you move Landon Dickerson. So it's more about, to me, Sua Opeta, and it's more about putting, okay, those are going to be your three guys. What's the best option for those particular three guys?
So give us the three middle guys for the Eagles if Jason Kelsey's out of the lineup.
It's going to be Dickerson at left guard, Herbig at center, Opeta at right guard.
I think I'm more concerned about Opeta playing right guard than I am Nate Herbig playing center at this point. But
Jason Kelsey said he's like a Tesla stock. Jeff Kerr, he's exploding. He's beating everybody on this one-on-ones. But he's more of a natural right guard than left guard.
But so speaking of the Stoutland news, wasn't that interesting how the Eagles worded it in the press box yesterday? It's like, he's not out, but I'm like, okay, so what's wrong with him?
Yeah, it's very strange to not, like, if somebody goes to the hospital, I'm ruling them out. But typically, but maybe it was Stout, and anybody who knows Stout, he's a pretty hard-headed guy, so he probably wanted to get back. So that's my guess. I talked to Bob Lang, the Eagles PR guy, after the game to see, try to get a better indication of what went on. And it seems like he's okay. So Lane Johnson said it was scary. Jeff has had some heart issues in the past, but that's just speculation. But if you go to the hospital, in these times, look, COVID-19, you have breathing issues, people might freak out. Could be a number of things. So, but he was back in the game. So, by the second quarter. So that was really positive. But that's another thing. You got to give the Eagles credit, man. I mean, I say it all the time. 2 left tackles, which isn't bad. Jordan Mailata, Andre Dillard. Left guards, 3 left guards. We're at 2 centers. We could be 3. We're 4 right guards, 3 right tackles. Now you lose your offensive line coach for a majority of the time. You think it's weighing on people's heads. He's also the run game coordinator. Oh, they go out and run for 180 whatever yards.
They're so deep on the offensive line, they had to trade one of their more valuable swing linemen because there just wasn't any room to play Matt Pryor, and he's doing a bang-up job on the Colts right now.
Colts love him. Colts stinking love Matt Pryor. That's another one. I'm going to take credit. Jody knows I predicted the Eagles could get something from Matt Pryor because the offensive lines in this league stink. There's so many that stink, and the Eagles just keep rolling guys in, but eventually it's going to stop. And if it stops on Jason Kelsey and he can't play, they're going to feel that one.
I'll say it. Jason Kelsey is the most valuable player on this Philadelphia Eagles team. They need Jason Kelsey. This is a guy that I really hope the guy never retires, but they got to have a contingency plan because if he's out for a while, I do not like their chances against that Washington front. I really don't.
And I know you guys try and get the information as best you can. Johnny Mack is an Eagle beat guy, and the Eagles are doing their best to keep information close to the vest. When is Brooks coming back? We were told when he went down it would be.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I don't even think about Brandon Brooks.
Right. Out of sight, out of mind. We were told 8 weeks. How many weeks are we up to now? 13?
Now, Nick did said about 10 days ago because he's trying to shut it down. We would ask him every week, do you have when it hit that 8-week mark, we'd ask him every single week, do you have an update on Brandon Brooks? Do you have an update on, I got no new news, and he got tired of it. And he said, nothing till after the bye. They're going to revisit it after the bye. So here we are at the bye. They got to revisit after the bye. It would be great if Brandon Brooks showed up and could play right guard. And then maybe you can do some of the things you're talking about. Maybe you have the conversation with moving Landon Dickerson inside. You say, okay, who's a better left guard, Herbig or Opeta? You go about it that way. Ultimately, though, I think it's about Landon Dickerson. They think Landon Dickerson is going to be a star. And I think quietly over the second half of the season, the Eagles finally went to Alabama 1-2, and it's worked out brilliantly. So maybe keep doing that. Number one, Howie Roseman. Number two, Landon Dickerson might end up being better than Devontae Smith at his position. And Devontae's pretty stinking good. That's not a criticism.
They should go
Landon Dickerson's going to be a good player.
There's another Alabama wide receiver I'd love to see the Eagles get, but he'll be going way before they probably pick. I don't know if you guys watch the SEC championship on Saturday. I heard last year he was better than Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle. So
yeah, I don't know about that, but I was pretty impressed with the quarterback.
I was not impressed with the Georgia quarterback. How bad is JT Daniels? How that he can't beat out that kid? That kid was awful. And I hate to. I mean, Daniels
been overrated since he was in high school.
He's got to be better than him.
Let's stick with Alabama. You know how big a Tua fan I am. Johnny's got to listen to me talk about Tua all the time. I had Mac Jones as the third-rated quarterback in the draft last year, not fifth, where he went. The current quarterback of Alabama is probably going to be better than either one of them. He was unbelievable on Saturday. And Georgia, the best defense, I've heard people say, best defense in college football in a decade. He's diced and sliced them.
They didn't play anybody. They played in that.
SEC East. Does anybody know, Jody, the SEC East stinks?
It's terrible.
The West is great. The West is tremendous. That's the one Alabama's in. The East, Kentucky's the second best stinking team. Does anybody notice that?
Nope. It's because they were fawning over Georgia beating the terrible Clemson team, who, by the way, could not make their conference championship game. Oh, speaking of which, I was in the Kenny Pickett Love Fest on Saturday night. That was my element. Kenny Pickett just being the crap out of Wake Forest and being the only quarterback that seemed...
Whoa. Don't tell me about Kenny Pickett. You want to question Georgia's defense because they play in the weaker half of the SEC? Who the hell is in the ACC defensively? And Wake Forest is the worst defense maybe in college football. Kenny Pickett gets no credit for scoring points against Wake. How hideously bad is Wake Forest? How many points? Wake Forest has given up 536 points this year. Are you kidding me?
This is why I can't
god awful.
I love college football. This is why I can't stand it. It's everybody wants the playoffs to expand. I'm like, why? Like, none of these teams are any good. Don't they get that? Like, Notre Dame was fifth, and they didn't beat anyone. The one team
I am a big Cincinnati fan right now.
I am too.
I hope they beat the brakes off everybody in that stinking, antiquated, stupid system that I hate beyond belief. And by the way, they have a ton of pro prospects, so I think Cincinnati's better than people think.
Desmond Ritter can play, man. He can play.
Yeah. They've got lengthy corners. They got players on defense. They got players all over the place. Ultimately, if Alabama blows them out, you know what people are going to say. They're going to say they shouldn't be in there. Guess what? Alabama blew out Notre Dame last year. And by the way, people say Notre Dame shouldn't be in there because they don't belong with Alabama. Well, they don't.
Cincinnati shouldn't be there. Notre Dame shouldn't be in there. Who the hell should be in there? Please tell me.
Well, exactly. And that's what I was getting to, Jody. You only got to go back to last year where people are saying Notre Dame's an embarrassment. Why are they in there? They were closer to Alabama than sticking Ohio State.
Right.
In the final. So, all right, let's take Cincinnati out. Let's take Ohio State out. Let's take everybody out. Notre Dame out.
Give the trophy to Saban again. Is that the answer?
Yeah,
Georgia. Don't actually play the games. Just give them another championship without having that.
Well, why don't we just go back to the computer rankings? We'll pick the 2 best teams and then we'll go for it. I mean, but Alabama, LSU in 2012.
Yeah, Georgia, because they're in the SEC. Oh, they're going to beat Alabama. Oh, how'd that work out?
It didn't.
They shouldn't be. They shouldn't be in the bottom. That's what I told Jody via text. We got to get back to the Eagles, obviously. But that's what I told Jody. Georgia. I would have dropped Georgia out. I said, get the hell out of here. I don't want to see them again play Alabama. I don't want to see that.
But Johnny Mac, you got to give me this. What I told you last week, if Alabama loses a close game, they're going to get in as the 4th team with 2 losses.
They would have gotten in. I said they would have gotten in.
And they should have, because they're unquestioned one of the 4 best teams in college football this year.
You can't lose 2. Results have to matter. Results have to matter. Yeah, they're more talented, no question. I agree with you. They're one of the best 4 teams. But you can't overlook results. Our opinions can't overlook results. Wait a minute. Weren't
you just the guy who was telling me results have to matter? Was Georgia undefeated, or was Georgia undefeated against a lousy division of the SEC?
Yeah, but they just got waxed by the team they're going to have to beat.
Until that point. But
but that result matters. That's what I'm saying. Okay. That result matters.
So the result of one game matters. The result of the first 10 doesn't matter because they were against weaker opponents.
No. 1 loss team, 1 loss. That's what I said about Cincinnati. You can say, obviously, their schedule is not as good as certain other teams. But results have to matter. We talk about in the NFL. We'll bring it back. It's obviously very different. But, the NFL's a 32-team league with now a 17-game schedule. So everybody doesn't play everybody. Some teams have more difficult schedules. Some teams have easier schedules. You have last place schedules, which isn't as big a deal as it once was. But you don't say so-and-so is, in the old days, 13-3, but they had a last place schedule.
It did help the Eagles yesterday. That was their 17th game. They played the last place team.
They got a break because they were a last place team. Yep. And they played another last place team, and the Eagles are better. The Jets are still a terrible team. They got a break. But you can't go after week 17 and say that game doesn't matter. 2-loss team has never been in the playoff in college football. Can't put a 2-loss team in there. Can't do it.
They set that precedent when Penn State won the Big Ten, and they decided to take the team that Penn State beat and did not win their division.
2 losses, Jeff. 2 losses. Can't get in.
They lost. They got killed by Michigan. That's why they didn't get in.
It's going to happen one of these years. Mark my words. It hasn't happened.
And it's going to be Alabama. You're right. It's going to be Alabama.
Or when they go to 12.
It will probably be the Crimson Tide. All right, JK, always a pleasure, buddy. What day are you joining me this week? When is John going to get something stuck up his nose? Is that Wednesday again?
I think we still have to get tested. So Wednesday, I'll get the schedule today. I don't have it yet, but I'm 98% certain we're going to be calling on you Wednesday, Jeff Kerr.
By the way, this feels like 2000, John. I don't know if you remember the 2000 season, but I think the Eagles had like a bye week in week 16 or week 15. Like a week 14 bye week is insane.
Yeah, it's too late. It's way too late. Helps the Eagles, though, especially.
Yeah, it does. It helped Tampa Bay win a Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, it stinks all the way up until you get to it. And then when you get to it and you only got 4 games on the back end, you're like, wow, that was a great spot for us to have our bye. Until you get there, it's awful. When you get there, it's good. We'll see if the Eagles can take advantage of it. Jeff Kerr, thanks, buddy. Chances are I will talk to you on Wednesday.
Yep, I'll see you guys probably Wednesday.
Jeff Kerr from CBSSports.com on with us, and we'll probably be filling in for COVID testing Johnny Mac on Wednesday. But I got John Mac with me right now. I'll come back. A couple more things I want to run by him. We got another guest, Chris Franklin, joining us coming up in 15 minutes. Right, Johnny Mac?
Yeah, 9:20. Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there with Chris Franklin here on Birds 365.